Hi, my name is Tracy Dean, and I'm here today to show you a demo of using Operations Manager to send alerts over to IBM's Netcool Omnibus, the Enterprise Alert System. Let's first just talk by introducing Operations Manager very quickly and the function that we're going to use. So Operations Manager for ZVM is an IBM product, and it comes with several features. What I'm going to focus on in this demo is the console monitoring over on the right-hand side. So Operations Manager will monitor the console messages of your VM service machines as well as your Linux guests or other guests, and you can write rules to take actions based on messages that are coming across those consoles. So more specifically, we are able to receive console messages from users like the operator user ID, your Linux guests, your VM service machines like TCP/IP or Dermate. We're also able to receive data over TCP/IP from Linux syslog, and we're also able to receive test data. Once that data is received, Operations Manager will go through all of your rules that you have written to determine what messages you are looking for and want to take action on. Those actions will be taken, and then the messages will be put into data spaces. A data space is just terminology, a technology in VM that allows us to put items in a certain section of memory. So the messages are now going into these data spaces. There's one data space for each user that you're monitoring or each guest that you're monitoring. And you'll notice that some of the data spaces have colors. The messages have been changed to be highlighted or red, and you'll see even that some messages are missing. Those are based on the rules that you have written in Operations Manager. And then all of the information that's coming across all of the consoles is also saved in a log, and that data is saved in a data space as well as on disk. So now let's talk about the demo. So in this scenario, we're going to use SNMP, a general technology, to be able to send alerts to Netcool Omnibus. So IBM Netcool Omnibus is an IBM Enterprise Alert solution. If you have other solutions that accept SNMP traps, then this scenario will work for you as well. So in this scenario, we have Operations Manager watching all the monitored consoles, and it's looking for any error message that includes the word abend. Now in this particular demo, the message must also contain the word SNMP, and that's just for our demo purposes to distinguish this from other demos that we do. If Operations Manager sees this word on any of the monitored consoles, it will change the message to red and hold it. It will send an alert to Omnibus using the SNMP trap command in VM, and then it will automatically unhold the message after 4 minutes. We're going to dynamically include in the alert the IP address of the VM system where the error occurred, since you may have many VM systems. We're going to also include the user ID that received the error and the text of the abend message. So let's look at this actual demo. So first, let's look at Netcool Omnibus. This is the IBM solution for enterprise alerting, and it has many configuration options. In our case, what we have done is we have said that for any new alert that comes in, if it comes in from a node ID and an alert group that we already know about, that we already have an alert for, we will just update the existing row on the console. Instead of adding a new row, we'll just update the existing row. So when you see me run this demo, what will happen is the occurrence date over here on the right will change to today's date, which happens to be November 20th. The count will go up to 160 from 159, and you'll see the text of the message will change as well. So let's go over to our VM system and actually start the demo. So all I'm going to do is put a message on a console and then put the word abend and the word SNMP in that message. So now all I've done is use a VM function called tell, or the message facility, to tell this user, SLESB109, to put this message on its console. This is an abend message for an SNMP alert. So the important thing here is that we have the word abend in the message and we have the word SNMP in the message. Now if I use another Operations Manager function called ViewCon to look at the console of this Linux guest that I just sent this message to, you will see in the lower right-hand corner, this is the user whose console I'm viewing. I'm in auto scroll mode, so if new messages came in, the screen would scroll. We can see we have the time here, and if I hit F6, I can also add the date to the screen. So you can see this is obviously a demo system. This user is not used for anything except for this particular demo. Here's the message that I sent. So I'm logged on to a user ID called Demo Admin, and here's the message that I sent. This is an abend message for an SNMP alert. We can see Operations Manager added its own messages to the console, indicating that it took some actions. And the first action that it took was SNMP alert, and the second action that it took was unhold. So now let's go over to our Netcool Omnibus console, and we can see that the message has arrived. So here's the IP address of the VM system in the node column. The alert group we happen to have chosen for these messages that we have set up is ZVM SNMP. And then here's the user ID, SLESB109, that received the message. And then here's the text of the message that I sent. And as I said, today happens to be November 20th, so the date has been updated and the time has been updated as well. And then, of course, the count has been updated from 159 to 160. So you can see this is a very simple way to get alerts over to an enterprise alert system that might be receiving alerts from all of your platforms across the enterprise from several applications. And we're now getting VM and Linux alerts into that central alert system. And we're using standard technology, SNMP, to do that. Now, for those that are interested, we're going to continue on and see how we did this. So we'll look at the configuration and some of the code behind the scene to see how we made this happen. So we'll go back to our VM session. I'm going to hit F3 to exit this Operations Manager View Console session. And I'm going to show you the configuration file, one of the configuration files actually for Operations Manager. And I'm going to look for my SNMP rule. So in this case, this is an Operations Manager rule. I've defined a rule. I've given it a name called abend SNMP. The match parameter says, what text am I looking for? And you can see that I have liberal use of wildcard characters here. So I'm looking for any text with the asterisk, followed by the word abend, followed by any text, followed by the word SNMP, followed by any text. And then the action that I'm taking when I see that text on any console is something called SNMP alert, which I've defined below. Now, I'll just comment here that there are many, many options on this rule statement. I've chosen the very basic, very simple one in this case, but there are many, many other options. The action that we've defined here is called SNMP alert. You'll notice it matches the name of the action that we pointed to from the rule. And in this action, what we're doing is we're executing a command called SNMP to Omni, which is a rex exec that I've written, and I'll show you in a moment. And we're passing it these two special substitution variables, &U and &T. In Operations Manager, those will get resolved to the user ID that received the error message or the abend message, and the &T will get resolved to the actual text of the message. So that's how, over here on Netcool Omnibus, we were able to pass along the user that had the error and the actual text of the message. And we were able to do that dynamically. We're also going to change the text of the message to pink and hold it. I know I earlier said red, but pink shows up better here. And where are we going to run this command? We're going to run it on the local Operations Manager server, and then we're going to take another action called unhold in another 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is all we needed to do to get that command over, or get that message over to Netcool Omnibus. We defined a rule looking for the message. We defined an action to run an exec to dynamically capture the user ID and the text of the message and send it over. So now let's look at this exec called SNMP to Omni. So I'll quit out of the configuration file, and I'll look at this exec. And you can see that it's a very short exec. All we're doing is parsing the parameters that are coming in to determine the user and the text of the message. We're then constructing the text of the message that we're going to send over to Netcool Omnibus, and then we're issuing an SNMP trap command to send that over there in SNMP format. So we have MIB values here to be able to send over to Netcool Omnibus. So, of course, I've worked with my Netcool Omnibus counterparts to be able to understand what they're expecting so that I'm sending things in the right fields. So these three things were the only thing I needed. I needed this exec, I needed the rule in Operations Manager, and I needed the action defined in Operations Manager. Now, if we go back to the presentation, I'll just point out that if you need more information on Operations Manager, here's the product website, and of course contact information for myself, Tracy Dean, or a colleague of mine, Mike Sine, here in the U.S. And of course on the Operations Manager website is more information and more white papers on the product, including details about this particular demo of sending alerts from Operations Manager to Netcool Omnibus. Thank you.